Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. We have a special bonus episode today. Joining us today is... Devindra, are you there?
This worked out so well in rehearsal.
I know. It really went well.
You're messing up the... Normally when we do bonus episodes, you just go.
Yeah, you're right. That's my bad.
You screwed up.
Okay, fine.
Come on.
Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast. My name is David Chen, and with me are...
Devindra Hardware.
And Jeff Kanata.
And joining us also today on this very special bonus episode is the editor-in-chief of SlashFilm.com, Peter Soretta. Welcome back to the Slash Filmcast. Peter, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Dave. I'm here to lose once again.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. And joining us also, he's the entertainment reporter at Gizmodo. He used to work for SlashFilm.com before turning to the dark side. Jermaine Lucier, welcome back to the Slash Filmcast. How are you doing today, Jermaine?
I am very good. Feels good to be home here, and let's talk some summer box office.
Yes, so we are here today to talk about...
He's just happy he avoided the strike.
We are here today on the official podcast of SlashFilm.com to discuss the Summer Movie Wager 2017. This is the 11th annual Summer Movie Wager, is that correct, Jeff?
That is correct, yeah.
So they've been doing this on the Totally Rad Show for over 10 years, but the Totally Rad Show ended. It has since continued on the Slash Filmcast. And, you know, for the last 2 years, me, David Chen, I have been destroying everyone else on this wager. In fact, last year I received the most points possible. Well, actually, no, that's not true.
No, that's not true.
That's not true. The most points ever received in the Summer Movie Wager. And so I'm really looking forward to defending my reigning heavyweight title on the Summer Movie Wager.
David, if you three-peat, you may, in fact, destroy the Summer Wager.
That's right.
Because I want to say right here and right now, I know that this is always a long episode already, but at some point, I guess maybe on our actual Slash Filmcast show, I don't know where it belongs, but we're going to have a discussion about Gods of Egypt, mister. Because I stayed up last night and watched that for you.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
As penance, you stole 2 hours of my life, Dave Chen.
All right. Well, stole is a really strong word for it. You know, you say stole, I say gifted. You know, you say potato, I say potato. It's just...
Well, I will say this. The stakes have been raised, and we understand what we're dealing with now. We're talking about hours of our lives that are at stake.
Yeah.
So
we believed it was subjecting other people to movies or TV shows we loved.
Yes, we thought we were opening eyes to beautiful things that maybe people didn't notice. We didn't realize that it was a punishment.
Okay, you guys are kind of skipping ahead here. Okay, you guys are skipping ahead. Let's explain what the Summer Movie Wager is. What is at stake here? Summer Movie Wager is basically all of us choosing the top 10 films of the summer as defined by domestic box office. So not international, just domestic box office. And we also choose 3 dark horses, which may or may not end up in the final rankings of the top 10. In terms of the time span, typically, the Summer Movie Wager begins Memorial Day, Jeff Kanata, but we have expanded the definition of the Summer Movie Wager to this week because
it's never ever been Memorial Day. It's always
we've been doing May 1st for
okay. Well, there you go.
Time.
Two-time champion, knows the rules.
That's right. This week is the beginning of the Summer Movie Wager, Summer Movie Wager, and the movie that's going to ring it in is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I think will play prominently in many of our lists. I am going to very quickly go over the rules, but the short version of the rules are that everyone chooses a top 10, everyone chooses 3 dark horses. You get more points if you get a choice dead on in terms of its final rankings at the end of summer, aka Labor Day. And you get extra points if you get number 1 or number 10 correct. So I'm going to go over the rules real quick. The scoring of your list of 10 movies and 3 dark horses goes like this. Getting number 1 or number 10 dead on gets you 13 points each. You get 10 points for numbers 2 through 9 dead on. 7 points if your pick was 1 spot away from where it ended up. 5 points if it was 2 spots away. 3 points if your pick is anywhere in the top 10. And 1 point for each dark horse that makes it into the top 10. And I think that covers most of the rules. Jeff Kanata, is that the bulk of it?
Yeah, so accuracy is king here, and we are trying to get as close to the correct ranking in terms of money. We don't care about quality. We care about dollars. That is all we're trying to predict here. And
you mean rankings, not dollars.
Rankings based
Amount
on
of dollars.
Right, rankings based on dollars, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's not about what is going to be the best movie of the summer or our favorite movie of the summer. It's about what is going to make the most money or the correct order of monies during the summer. And I would like to point out that if this is the first time you're listening to the Summer Movie Wager,
Where have you been?
where have you been? First of all, but second of all, sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on the top of the list and who got the number one correct. But last year, I would say Peter Soretta was the boldest and the most impressive in his calling his shot and shocking the world with his number one. And yet it didn't get him the victory. It did not bring home the victory. So anything is possible. And the meat and potatoes in the middle of the list is really where a lot of those points can come in.
I also want to say a few other things before we begin. Firstly, as we mentioned, there is a wager last year, as there is this year, about regarding who wins, right? Like if there's nothing at stake, then there's no point in calling it a wager. So what is at stake is the person who wins gets to tell everyone else on the show to watch something less than 3 hours long. So it can be a movie, it can be a couple episodes of a show, whatever you want. Number one gets to tell everyone else to watch something. And of course, my choice last year when I won was Alex Proyas's brilliant, visually dazzling film, Gods of Egypt, which I believe everyone on this podcast has watched except for Peter Soretta. Is that right?
That is correct, because there has never been a deadline for this told to me, Dave.
Okay, well that
I feel like
is
the deadline is the next one.
yeah, that
I
is really
literally
upsetting. I'm
stayed
really
up-
upset that you said that just now.
I stayed up last night because I figured
I'll
the
go through my
deadline-
emails, Dave. I have not received an email saying, watch this
It's
movie by
a
this date.
gentleman's understanding.
Yeah.
Well, I think this year what
by
we
the
need to
next
do
year.
is, I was just thinking about this. You have to put on your Twitter or your Facebook, Instagram proof that you were watching the film, and yes, put a deadline on.
Yeah. Okay.
I like
so
that. I like the proof
Peter,
thing.
yeah,
Well, we should also probably get together on the podcast to talk about said thing.
I agree. I mean, we are gonna talk about Jeff's viewing of Gods of Egypt on the /Filmcast, but Peter, that's just very upsetting. Everything you just said, because it's kind of like a letter of the law versus spirit of the law. It's like a
Peter is going to wait, and in 5 years from now, he's just going to binge all of the things he needs to watch in like an 8-hour session.
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave, I will watch it by the determined deadline that we decide upon.
Okay, fine. How about this? So we'll say whoever wins the Summer Movie Wager this year, they get to dictate something that everyone else watches, and that
You have
all
1
those
year.
people need to watch it before the next Summer Movie Wager.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
And
reasonable.
Peter, that's retroactive too. So since I'm going to win this year, you need to watch two things that I say. Okay?
Well, I'm still going to watch Gods of Egypt, I guess.
Yes. You will watch Gods of Egypt.
By the way, Dave, I just want to say I tweeted out earlier asking people what they thought one of the movies coming out this summer was going to make on the summer movie, or just how much it was going to make at the domestic box office. And someone starts accusing me of cheating on Twitter, David, and
That sounds upsetting. Yeah.
yeah. As if anybody actually has the answer to this. I got answers ranging from $12 to $1 billion. So I don't think any one answer is correct.
Yeah, but I think crowdsourcing your list.
Wait! I wasn't crowdsourcing my list, but crowdsourcing your list. Talk about crowds. I get a notification. Dave Chen is on Periscope. Help me decide my summer movie wager list.
Excuse me. I did not say help me decide. I said, hey, I am working out with my companion what the top 10 choices
I
are.
go
your
to watch this
companion?
thing, and people are giving him tips, and he's moving stuff around.
Oh, how dare
Ryan
you!
Johnson's giving him inside Disney information. He's seen all the films. This is
How
crap.
dare you, David? How dare you accuse Peter of shenanigans when you are the king shenanigizer?
All right. Well,
10 minutes. We have to mention a movie. 10 minutes.
as Peter said, none of this has been written down. We'll have to have an anti-crowdsourcing clause in next year's wager.
We need some sort of rules committee.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there another a film blog website we can have that's impartial that can come in and just be the rules committee?
Oh God.
One other thing before we begin today, ladies and gentlemen, and that is that Dennis from Germany is a hardcore /Filmcast summer movie wager fan. He has been working tirelessly to build a website that is not only going to keep track of our wagers this year and update them in real time with commentary on the Twitter handle at SomeMovieW, I think is the Twitter handle. At SomeMovieW, that's right. SUM Movie W. But not only that, if you go to thesummermoviewager.com, you can see our rankings, and you can also play along yourself. You can submit your own choices, and it's a really cool feature. If you get your choices in by Friday, that's this Friday coming up, you have the potential to be included in the leaderboard.
Can I
ahead.
propose something on the fly right now?
Okay.
I think we should have whoever is the highest ranking listener on the site should also get to dictate something that we watch.
Okay. I think
that would be rad.
All right. I'm
Totally.
game for that. I'm game for that. So unless that person, I would say the highest ranking person, even if they are part of this podcast, because I expect I will be the highest ranking person. So.
Oh, you have of all humans.
Yeah,
In the
of
world,
all humans.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
So if it's me, if I win, I don't get to dictate two things. It's just one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Dave,
Right.
that's not going to happen.
That's only fair. Anyway, if you submit your entries by Friday, May 5th, that's this coming up Friday. So you probably only have like 24 to 48 hours after this podcast hits your feed. You can be included in the leaderboards. After that, you can still play along, but you will not be included in the leaderboards because by Friday, Friday is already pushing it because you'll already kind of know how much movie
Thursday numbers, yeah.
how much money Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 will make. So it's kind of really on the edge of things. But yeah, if you get it in by Friday, you can be on the leaderboards. Otherwise, you can just enter your own choices and play along. Again, the site is thesummermoviewager.com. Really appreciate Dennis. He really made the game a lot more fun last year with his weekly commentary.
Agreed.
Along with Paul Baker, who also helped a lot last year as well as this year. So thanks to those listeners for really taking this game up a notch.
And I would just like to say, David, also, if you do win,
Yes?
how will we know if it was you who were brilliant or your significant other who was really the brilliant one?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think I ask that question every day, Jeff. If I win, how do I know if it's me or my significant other that contributed to this? Let me also say this before we begin this week's or this year's summer movie wager. I think it's worth commenting on what happened last year, other than my incredible victory, which is that last year saw several trends that I thought were pretty interesting. Number one, a lot of sequels just completely withered and died. We're talking about movies like Alice, the sequel to Alice, like Alice Through the Looking Glass, the Huntsman Winter's War, or whatever. There's a bunch of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't even crack the top 10 last year. A lot of movies that people thought would do really well because the first film did really well, even though the first films were generally not very good. The sequel performed horribly. So that was one trend we saw last year. Another trend is that there's basically no middle anymore. It's the middle class of movies is getting squeezed out. There was no movie last year that made between $156 million domestic and $300 million domestic. So nothing, in the 200, 240, 250 range. Nothing. It's just the haves and the have-nots, very much like American society these days. So
that is scary, Dave, because my entire list is consisting of those.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to hearing
how
terrible you'll do.
I don't think that's going to happen this year, but we'll see.
Anything else you guys want to comment on regarding last year before we get going this year? Any other comments about last year?
Well, I think we sort of alluded to it, but I think the important thing is we all picked Captain America Civil War to be number one, except for Peter Serretta, who picked Finding Dory. And we all joked, and of course, we were the last ones laughing. But it was
we weren't the last.
But again, that 5-point swing doesn't.
No, right. But I'm just saying, that was something that it was significant, and we alluded to it, and I just wanted to point that out.
Finding Dory was the number one movie last year with $482 million domestic.
I think that actually nailing the number 10 movie, which gives you the exact same points as the number 1 movie, is much more difficult than nailing the number 1 movie.
Of course, yeah. And we should also point out no one did that last year.
I don't think anyone ever has done that.
Yeah,
I think I did one year. I think it was like Turtles or something, but anyway, we'll see.
No one got The Legend of Tarzan correct this year, or last year, I should say. So finally, one last ultimate thing before we begin this year, and that is
we should have our German friend like on the computer, like buzzing in with like that trivia.
Stat boy, yeah.
One last thing. Well, firstly, there is an awesome trivia page at thesummermoviewager.com. If you go to thesummermoviewager.com, there's a trivia page that. Where Dennis has clearly spent more time on the Summer Movie Wager than even we have. There's a lot of awesome trivia on this page, but I think he points out, for instance, here in 2012, quote, "We have the utmost weirdest thing here with Jeff's list. In the wager video, he states his picks very clearly. There is one small hiccup where he states Brave as his number 7, but he also puts Brave at 8th and Prometheus at 9th. My approach to resolve this conflict is to only count his first mention of Brave at 7th. So he put more thought into it than Jeff Kanata, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So before we get going this year, the one thing I want to ask you guys is, are there any overall trends this year? I mean, it felt like everyone was saying this year is really, really tough to make the list, right?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Are there any overall trends this year that you guys
I will say this. I think that there are a lot of movies that were made for over $150 million that did not make my top 10. So in my mind, I think that the studios are going to be losing a lot of money.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many sequels here that seem like obvious picks, and they're really hard to stay away from. But at a certain point, when you get to the 5th movie and the 3rd movie or the 7th movie, the bubble's got to pop on these, right? So that's a scary thing when I was looking at the list.
There is a ton of sequels this year. I think there's maybe only 1 or 2 movies on my list that aren't sequels or continuation of cinematic universes.
Yeah, 1.
But yeah, like ton of sequels as usual. And last year was a bloodbath for sequels. So I'm curious if what you guys are going to pick for like kind of original movies or adaptations. All right, so let's get going then, guys. I think that's all the rules, right? That's everything. Let's begin with our number 1 choices. Why don't we just run down the list and give our number 1s? Peter Soretta, your number 1 choice for top movie at the box office in 2017.
For me, it was between Despicable Me 3 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I'm going to go against the norm. I saw Dave considering Despicable Me, so I'm going with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think, the first movie made $333 million. I think this is an early May release. It's the first movie of summer, and it has Baby Groot. I think it's going to make $400 million.
All right, let's go through everyone's and then talk about it. So, Jeff Kanata, your number 1?
I felt I need to shake things up a little bit this year, guys. So I'm going a little crazy. I went with Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Complete madness. Doing your hard work. Your number 1 movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
All right, Jermaine Lucier?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
And me, Despicable Me 3.
That's crazy. I don't think we've ever had 3 different movies as number 1. I think.
Yeah. All right.
That's very interesting.
All right. So
mainly because Jeff has gone mad.
Yeah. So Jeff, defend this crazy choice.
Yeah, that's the crazy one.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Honestly, I will say this before Jeff goes. For about 2 seconds today, I had Spider-Man my number 1. Then I laughed and moved it down the list. So
Jeff Kanata, take it away. This is going to be the most catastrophic decision you've ever made on the summer movie. This is up there with Alex Albrecht choosing MacGruber back in.
No,
it's not.
No. I did not get to that laugh moment. I think that this movie is going to be good. I think it is a character that people are excited about. I think Robert Downey Jr. in that movie is going to be a big deal. I think it's going to shock everybody, and it's going to be a huge hit.
Okay. Well, Despicable Me 2 made $368 million domestically when it was released in 2013. That is more than Guardians of the Galaxy 1 made. I think Despicable Me 3, despite being a movie that I'm not super into, is going to obliterate the competition.
But
Everyone's really, really waiting for Despicable Me 3.
Yeah.
But Dave, how do you
See,
explain-
that was my thing. That Devendra is obviously I have it pretty high on my list, but I think Despicable Me 2, like, I know it has its fans and people are going to turn out, but since then they saw Minions, and that was also a big hit. But I don't see, and it's not like, people who like I engage with on Twitter are Despicable Me fans, but I just don't hear anything about it. Like, I've been in the theater when the trailers played, it's just got a 0. And so I think it's going to be a big hit, but I would be incredibly surprised if it outgrows the second film.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to say, how do you explain, Dave? Minions made $33 million less than Despicable Me 2.
Well, I mean,
So I think we're on a downward trend.
well, I mean, how can you have a Despicable Me movie without whoever that guy is?
That guy. That guy.
The guy.
Me.
I want to say Groot. Is that
Groot.
what it is?
G-R-U.
Groot. That's right. Yeah, Groot.
Groot.
Yeah.
So
yes.
basically, it's Gru versus Groot on the summer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
right.
Versus-
So you could very well be right, Peter, but this is my Finding Dory moment where I'm saying, hey, Despicable Me 3 is going to surprise everyone. It's coming out July 4th weekend. It's very good counter-programming to Transformers. I think it's going to dominate that weekend. And so, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 made $333 million domestic. Very likely could do more this year. Very likely could do
I
more.
don't think Despicable Me 3 is going to make more money that weekend than Transformers.
Okay,
I think
Jeff,
I
you're
think,
really...
I think
I
Despicable
mean,
Me
says the
3
guy who chose Spider-Man for number 1, but
I did.
I agree with Jeff. I think Transformers is more of an opening weekend movie, where Despicable Me 3 is like a legs movie, where it'll play for a couple of weeks and be in the top 3. Where Transformers, if it's as bad as we all expect it to be, will do like 150 million, and it'll be, oh my god, great. But Despicable Me do like 85 or 90, but then it'll only drop to like 75, and Transformers will go to like 40, 20, and it'll be a battle. But I honestly, Despicable Me 3 is a great pick. I mean, it's my number 2. I think it's going to make a lot of money. I just think Guardians, coming off the huge first movie, it's got a lot of buzz. It obviously has that whole summer thing to go, and the first movie of the summer is usually the easy pick. But to me, it seems like in the whole world here, it's the movie people are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Well, Jermaine, you mentioned your number 2 as Despicable Me 3. What's your number 2, Jeff Kanata?
Transformers.
Okay. How about you, Jimmy?
Wait, are we on twos?
Yeah,
We're
number
on
2.
Yeah, we're on number 2.
Despicably Me 3 for 2.
All right. And Peter Soretta for your number 2 of the summer.
Mine is David's number 1, Despicable Me 3.
All right. So I think we all understand like why people chose Despicable Me 3 for number 2. But Jeff Kanata, what did you choose again? Transformers. Why do you think Transformers is going to be number 2?
I just don't think you can bet against that franchise. For some reason, people still want to see those movies. I don't understand it, but they make lots of money, and I think
less and less, right?
Well,
not a ton less.
Here's what is completely baffling about that choice, Jeff, is when you were this high on the list, you're up in the $300 to $400 million range, right? Last year, number 1, Finding Dory, made $482. Number 2, Captain America 3, made $408 million. Transformers, the last movie, the last Transformers movie,
245 million.
Yeah, 245 million. Dark of the Moon made 352. But I think Dark of the Moon, actually, Revenge of the Fallen, I think was peak Transformers at 402.
Yes.
Then Dark of the Moon 352. Age of Extinction made 245. I think this one tops out at 200. I don't think this is going to make more money than Age of Extinction. Do you think it's going to make more money than the last Transformers movie?
Well, the mistake that you're making, David, is thinking that I did any research on that.
I was going to say that as a joke, but I was like, no, I've got studies to say.
Okay, well then I don't feel bad about.
Jeff is always the one that goes on his like feelings.
Yeah,
he doesn't
yeah.
go for the data. He just goes on the.
I respect that. I look at like one or two little things, but I'm the same way.
Yeah, I don't respect that at all. Which is why I'm disparaging Jeff at every possible turn. But
I literally did not look that up. So I assumed that the last Transformers made over 300 million, and it did not. But
and that's why you're going to be watching Gods of Egypt 2 next year, Jeff.
Did you say your number 2?
No, they have not made a sequel yet. Although I'm writing to Alex Proyas every day. Okay, guys.
What is your number 2, Dave? You didn't say.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
All right, that's what
definitely. Yeah. So
that's
even
Jeff's number 10. Just FYI.
yeah, that's Jeff's number 10. Okay, number 3, ladies and gentlemen. I'll start. Now, my number 3 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. I think this is going to perform pretty well.
Ridiculous to have it be number 1, but number 3.
Well, yeah, because I really don't think
it's a big difference.
It is a big difference. And remember, last year we talked about how there's a massive difference between like the top ones and the bottom ones. Like, I think this is going to be really solid Marvel, but I'm very curious what the appetite for a Spider-Man film is. Anyway, I'll get into this a little bit more. Let's get your number 3. Peter Serretta, your number 3?
Mine is also Spider-Man: Homecoming.
All right.
I think this movie is going to do $340 million.
All right. Devendra Hardwar?
Same.
Jeff Kanata?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay, pretty reasonable. How about you, Jermaine?
I now regret this choice, but Transformers: The Last Night. Number 3. But I'm glad Peter. Somebody told Peter on Twitter how much Spider-Man was going to make, so I'm glad you got it in there, Pete.
Yeah. Okay.
The Gut Brothers, Jermaine, you and me, going with our gut.
So,
Yeah, Transformers all the way.
Peter, you think Spider-Man: Homecoming is going to make $340 million? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think somewhere between 275 and 360. I'm going for like 340. The thing is, Dave, the Sam Raimi movies made, $350, $400 million. But the last 2 installments of Spider-Man were $262 million and then $200 million.
Apples and oranges, man.
Yeah.
Apples and oranges.
No
but
Iron Man in those movies.
But do audiences know?
I think the Iron
yes,
Man
they know.
factor is something that audiences will know.
Yeah, no,
They saw
I
him in Civil War, right? And they see the trailers. Like, the connection is pretty well set up.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with Spider-Man: Homecoming, guys, is that I agree. I think the last 2 Spider-Man are still really fresh in people's minds, even if we don't want to admit that. And yeah, I know this is a Marvel movie and it's got Iron Man in it, but the title is not a grabby title. I think people are still like, oh, a new Spider-Man movie, and it's Sony marketing it, not Disney. And Sony has they need a lot of hits. They have not had a really great last 2 years. I'm not sure. I mean, we haven't had a Dark Tower trailer yet. It comes out tomorrow as we're recording this podcast. That comes out in August. Like, they're just all crazy over there with the marketing. I'm not sure how they're going to do with this to convey all these things that we know about Spider-Man. So
there's just a lot more star power, though, right? There's Zendaya,
Absolutely.
there's Michael Keaton. Like, there's things, and freaking Iron Man. Like,
and
I
I
think
feel it's
those
going
are
to be
still
quite
some-
good.
bump. But that Amazing Spider-Man #1, people were excited for that one, and that only made 262.
Well, guys, if you graph
I think
if you graph domestic grosses of Spider-Man films, starting with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 in 2002, it is virtually like a linear line downwards, right? You got 400, 373, 336, 262, and 200. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the worst performing Spider-Man film out of all the Spider-Man films, including the Raimi films.
Apples and oranges.
Okay.
These are misleading statistics. It's like
Well,
saying,
Jeff, I mean, I'm in agreement with you, Jeff. I mean, I'm putting Spider-Man at number 3. I think it's going to make around $300 million.
It's like saying if you graphed the box office of Planet of the Apes films before Rise of the Planet of the Apes, they were going way down. Like it's just completely
that
different.
is a ridiculous analogy, and you know that.
But I stand by it.
I mean, these movies, all 5 Spider-Man films happened in the last 16 years. I think the question, right, that is before us, that is going to be answered this summer, is whether or not public appetite for Spider-Man as a whole is A, high enough, or B, whether low appetite for Spider-Man can be overcome by the things Devendra said: star power, Iron Man in it, MCU, like that kind of stuff.
Is there? I
we
mean, we
also-
don't have another MCU movie this year, do we? Right.
Guardians.
Thor and Guardian.
Oh yeah,
Thor
Guardians.
Ragnarok, but that's not coming till fall, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
So I do feel like so Guardians, but it's not like Avengers MCU, right? So Guardians just feel like it's a separate thing, and people want to get their appetite of Avengers-ness. That's where you get it.
Are they going to sell that, or are people going to turn out for Spider-Man: Homecoming? I think they are. I just don't think it's going to be. I have it a little lower down, and I just I'm struggling. I struggle with it.
I think
I think
people
we
look at
can't-
posters and trailers more than movie titles.
yeah.
I don't
Who's
think
drinking?
we can
Jermaine,
get-
are you
What?
drinking
What?
alcohol right now? What's going on?
Mute,
No,
sir.
come on, that gives it a flavor, guys. Come on.
Use
No,
your
but
mute button.
I don't think we can give mainstream America too much credit. Like I walk down the street and I hear people. Well,
that
first of all,
Twitter
look at
bio.
our president. But second of all, I walk down the street and I hear people talking about DC characters like they're in the Marvel. The people that aren't in this bubble that read comic books and watch movies. In the film Twitter bubble, they don't necessarily. I run into people at Disneyland that think the Minions are a Pixar movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't know.
I think what you're saying, Peter, is everyone's dumber than you, and no one deserves to win this wager other than yourself.
Saying we have Trump as president.
Yeah, it all doesn't matter. None of this matters because we're not going to survive to Memorial Day.
Okay, guys, let's move on to number 4 choices. Jermaine, let's start with you. Your number 4 choice.
And I'm sorry, my number 4 choice is Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Ooh, bold
that's
choice. How about you, Jeff Kanata?
Despicable Me 3, guys.
All right.
I think that movie has a big dip. Big dip. I think we got despicable fatigue.
Okay. More like despicable fatigue. Devendra Hardwar, you're number 4.
I think this is where my list starts falling apart. So I put in Wonder Woman, even though I realize the marketing has barely begun. To
Devendra, I'm right there with you, man. Wonder Woman is my number
Really?
4 as well. Yep.
You guys are
we go.
nuts.
You cannot talk, sir.
Peter Soretta, you're number 4.
I also have a different movie. I have War for the Planet of the Apes.
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
So Peter, you're the most quantitative when it comes to these rankings. Like, what do you think War of the Planet of the Apes is going to come in at?
Well, the first one made 180. The second did 208. But I think this franchise has kind of gained popularity in home video, and I think.
You think there's going to be a surge?
Oh,
For the
Yeah, I
War
think
of
there's
the
going to be a
All the people
surge.
that go
I
to
mean, there was already a
Blockbuster.
surge of like 30 million between the first and second. I think we could see a 30 to 40 million dollar surge between the second and the third. And I think
What's your home video evidence, Peter? Where's the data?
oh no.
He's going to Blockbuster and he's checking out the aisles, man.
He's going to Blockbuster. He's seeing which cases don't have any of the DVDs behind
But
them.
it's also this is one of the rare franchises that is on any of our lists
Yeah.
that has been a home run after home run. And I know none of us have seen this movie, but it looks as close to a home run as it possibly could.
I want it to be a home run, but I also
I
feel
mean,
like
if this
John-
movie is
Yeah.
as good as it looks, this will be in my mind, the best trilogy of films since Star Wars.
Hmm.
Whoa!
And yeah, I know that goes over Lord of the Rings. I don't really care.
And
Whatever.
Indiana Jones
what?
and a bunch of things since Star Wars.
Let's talk about our choice of Wonder Woman, Devendra Hardwar. I think Wonder Woman. If you evaluate the last DCU movies, right?
Yep.
Or DCCU, whatever the hell it is. Suicide Squad, right? Over 300 million domestic. Batman v Superman, over 300 million domestic.
Yep.
Not only that, Wonder Woman, widely regarded as the best part of Batman v Superman.
Sure. But
So even if this movie makes only 70-80% of a Batman v Superman, it's still up there in the 200s.
yeah,
I
I mean
mean,
that's part of my thinking. But yeah, we know this movie doesn't have those iconic characters too, or at least the ones like Batman and Superman, right, and the Joker. So I'm more worried about like the fact
all of
that,
whom
yeah,
are incredibly well
100%.
used in
Yeah.
Batman v Superman.
Well,
tell you something?
definitely, they're
Wonder
certainly
Woman-
in the movie.
Wonder Woman did not make my top 10.
Wow.
Wow.
F.
That's
It's a
What
dark.
do you-
It's a dark.
And you know what? Honestly, this year that could happen.
I think Wonder
Dark.
Woman is going to do.
It could also be top 3. Who knows? Like I
Yeah.
think it's one of those movies that we talked about this being a very difficult summer. I'm not surprised you guys have it that high, but it's just who knows. Like it could be great. I've been hearing people who've seen it and said it's good. And if the movie's great, plus you add in that DC juice that you guys are talking about, it could do like $450 million. It's a long shot, but you never know.
I think it's going to do roughly Logan numbers. I think it's
Yeah.
probably going to open around Logan numbers and be as good as Logan, which, by the way, made $224 million domestic, which would put it right around this area on the list. So
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about the Wonder Woman choice. Jeff Kanata, what did you choose for number 4?
Despicable Me 3.
Okay. And you think, we're going to have a Minions dip going on here?
Minions dip. And the Wonder Woman thing, like, let me be clear. I know a lot of people are going to be like, because Jeff hates DC. He puts Spider-Man #1 because he hates DC.
Good impression of our listeners, Jeff.
True, though. That's true.
But I genuinely think Wonder Woman is going to be a good movie, and I'm really excited to see it. I am a little cynical about the audience that will turn out for a female-led superhero movie at this point, and I hope I'm wrong.
Be the change you want to see in this world, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I'm be turning out for it, and I put it as a dark horse. So if it lands on the list, I'm still pocketing it a little
I
bit.
love that vote of enthusiasm.
I just think it is madness to not have it in the top 10 at all.
Pretty...
I guess I feel like even if it is a catastrophic DCU movie, that's still over like $100 million.
Yeah, but $100 million could be off the top 10.
Yeah, $100 million doesn't put you in the top 10, dude.
It did last year.
I mean, pretty freaking close last year. Yeah, 125 last year. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like at minimum it's going to make 125. But we'll see. We'll see. I think there's a lot of people been commenting on how little P&A it has, print and advertising and marketing. People have seen very few trailers for it. It could be a disaster, but
there's been obviously a lot of talk about that. But A, that's ramped up in the last like 2 or 3 days, and B, I think they're waiting for Guardians.
Yeah, they're waiting for Guardians. They're waiting till Guardians blows its load, and then they're gonna unleash the Wonder Woman advertising campaign.
Not the analogy you want, Dave.
Yeah. Jermaine Lucier, what was your number 4?
Pirates, and I just feel like I've seen Pirates, so I have that, and the movie's actually pretty good. And I think it's a franchise that's always done really well. The last one didn't do as well as the previous films, but I feel like this one is going to have a little bit of word of mouth and buzz. And it comes out Memorial Day weekend against nothing really. And I just feel like it's going to do well. I mean, obviously Disney will probably do a pretty good job marketing it. And it's one of those family films that the adults don't feel silly going to and bringing their kids. And like I said, and it's pretty good. So I think people are going to keep coming back at next couple of weekends, even though the competition is stiff.
Pirates has done really well. This is the one I struggled with a lot. Pirates, Dead Man Tell No Tales. Pirates 1, $305 million domestic. Pirates 2, $423 domestic. Pirates 3, $309 domestic. Pirates 4, $241 domestic. That is a huge drop. And so the question
go ahead.
Yeah, the question is Dead Man Tell No Tales going to do better or worse than Pirates 4?
I think it's about the same. And also you got to think it's been how many years since 4?
It's been 6 years since 4, right?
Yeah, with inflation and the 3D bump, IMAX stuff. I don't know if it's IMAX, to be quite honest, because I don't do research.
It's Disney. It's IMAX.
I'm betting that people have had enough of Pirates, and that the Johnny Depp storylines that have been in the news are not going to do him favors, when it comes to getting audiences. I mean, he's barely been in the advertising for this movie.
America doesn't read the news.
But, well, anyway.
What I'm wondering is how many of us had Alice on our list last year?
I think I did. Yeah.
We were all idiots.
Yeah.
I think we reached peak Johnny Depp a long time ago, is what I'm saying. And so I feel like I have Pirates.
Is not. Jack Sparrow is different from that, and it has the whole weekend to itself. There's movies here and there around it that could be big, but I don't know. I think it opens like high 90s, around 100, and then sort of it sticks in that top 5 for a couple weeks. And even if it hits its same like 220, I mean that could be right there in the middle of the pack.
I think this is going to be this year's Independence Day resurgence. I think it's going to take a huge hit. I have it way down on my list. But I think, Jermaine, you make a lot of good points. You could be totally right on this one. Let's move to number 5 on our list. Jeff Canada, why don't you start us off?
Cars 3.
Cars 3.
Let's mention a Pixar movie.
Solid choice. Jermaine Lucier, you're number 5.
Spider-Man.
Devendra Hardawar, you're number 5.
This is, again, where my list starts to fall apart. Dunkirk.
I think that is a little too high. Peter Soretta, you're number 5.
Wonder Woman.
All right, and my number 5 is Transformers: The Last Night. So I'll just say, Transformers, I think it's going to make around 200 million. Like, my 4 through 6, I feel like could be all interchangeable. I don't know really which one is going to, be better than the other, but I feel like it's going to be around 200, and that's where this area of the list is.
We haven't talked about Cars at all. So, Jeff, I mean, I have it coming up pretty soon. I'm curious, like, what was your thinking with Cars?
Yeah, tell us, Jeff.
Well, as Peter likes to point out, home video is huge with the kids, and
Is that what
cars.
is that what they're doing on the streets these days?
Oh yeah,
It says that.
they love home video, guys. And Lightning McQueen cars, they are ubiquitous in a certain age group's purview, and I think that just the strength of little kids wanting to go see the vroom vroom cars is it's a solid. Pixar movies are always good. Parents feel comfortable bringing their kids to them. It's a solid franchise that has a lot of name recognition. I just think it's gonna make like middle of the list money. It's gonna make solid number 5 on the list money.
Okay.
And the other thing you should consider is, Cars Land opened between this one and the last one. And I feel like when you go to a theme park and you experience being in that land, like you guys will with Pandora,
Yes.
that those people and those kids develop a connection to that is greater than experiencing the movie. And
Okay,
I think
let's look at the research here that you guys always do. All right, you research bros. First Cars, 244 million. Cars 2, 190 million. And this movie the marketing on it is all over the place. I think, yeah, it's Pixar. Yeah, it's Cars. It's been, looks like 6 years since the last Cars movie. I just don't think it's out there as much anymore. I have it coming up on the list. I think it's going to do about the same as the last movie.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
it's just not. It's not. This is one of and if you talk to people who are Pixar fans, Peter, Dave, you guys, you'd be like, so what are you excited about Pixar? Nobody's even talking about Cars 3. It's just, I think it's going to be, one of their bigger disappointments, a $200 million disappointment, but still.
I think it'll make less than Cars 2, maybe not that much less, but any less than Cars 2 puts it further down than number 5 on the list. At least according to my current assumptions.
Yeah.
Any other things about rank 5 that we want to point out before we move on?
Wonder Woman, really quick. All DC movies have done around 300 million, but I, like Jeff, am cynical about the audience showing up for this one. So I think it's going to do about 200 million. But this is the one I've struggled with the most, honestly, because this movie could do 300 million. It could do 100 million.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I agree completely.
I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead,
I made a
Devendra.
terrible mistake.
Yeah, I want to hear. Yeah, but,
You deeply regret your choice, Devendra?
I deeply regret this.
What was your choice?
Mostly
again for
because I had Cars. It was Dunkirk, but I had Cars 3 in my pile of movies, and I didn't realize I never plugged it into the list. So. Oh well.
Well, Dunkirk, was initially at around here on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Interstellar, I think
Interstellar was around 7 or 8. I think
Chris Nolan is going to drive a lot of the sales for this movie. I think he has enough name recognition that he can open a movie just off the strength of his name alone. Interstellar, I think, ended up making around 188 or something like that domestic. Inception was 292. The question is whether this is going to be as good as Inception or as good as Interstellar. I think it's going to be much closer to Interstellar because the subject matter is a lot darker than even Interstellar, which is pretty
it
freaking
3 hours
dark.
long?
It's probably pretty long, right?
If it's 3 hours long,
there
I
are
don't know.
known actors, but not very popular faces. So
Dunkirk is in my top 10. I don't think it's going to be this high though. But I think
neither.
you didn't make a bad choice by putting in the top 10, Devendra. So we'll see how it plays out. Let's move on to number 6. Devendra, why don't you take us to your number 6?
Sure. This is where I put Transformers last night.
Transformers Last Night. How about you, Peter Soretta?
Transformers Last Night.
Jeff Kanata?
This is where I put War for the Planet of the Apes.
I put War for the Planet of the Apes around here too, Jeff. I put it at number 6. How about you, Jermaine Lucier?
Cars 3.
Okay. So War for the Planet of the Apes, I think, around $200 million. Transformers Last Night, right? The same. I don't think there's that much to discuss. Cars 3, Jermaine, you already outlined your reasoning for why it's going to make this much. So shall we move on to number 7?
Do it.
Sure.
Number 7, Cars 3, for me, I think it's going to pull in around 150, 160 million domestic. How about you, Peter Soretta? You're number 7.
My number 7 is also Cars 3, but I think
Nice.
it's going to do a little bit better than what you're saying.
Sure.
But it's diminishing returns. But I think they are appealing more to the NASCAR audience that they lost with that silly spy sequel. So
How about you, Devendra Hardware?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Not a bad choice. How about you, Jeff Kanata?
Samesies. Pirates of the Caribbean is where I think it's a solid 7.
I think
Solid 7.
I think it's a really good choice. I ranked it lower than that, which is like, in my opinion, a big risk to rank it lower than that. So good choice for number 7, guys. How about you, Jermaine?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Okay, so you think Wonder Woman's going to be around like 150, 160? Do you have a number in your mind of what it will make?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, I don't really do this research. I mean, you guys made the good points that both Suicide Squad and Batman did huge numbers with bad reviews. I think this is probably going to get much better reviews. So I'm going to Devindra this pick and say that I'm not too happy with it.
Okay.
I just want to do a little quick sidebar here and say that if I don't win this year, I hope that Jermaine wins so that at least the guys that go with their gut get a victory here. And you stupid stats guys with your numbers and your emails and your websites. Really, all I'm saying is anybody but Dave. That's what I want.
Let's move on to number 8, Jeff Kanata. Your number 8 choice.
This is where I put Dunkirk.
Me too, Dunkirk. I put number 8. How about you, Devindra Hardwar?
War for the Planet of the Apes.
All right, good choice. Good choice. So, do you think? We'll get to it. Peter Soretta, your number 8.
Pirates of the Caribbean. I think even this is going to be more diminishing returns than the last one, but it's still going to make the top 10.
How about you, Jermaine?
A movie nobody's mentioned yet, Alien Covenant.
Wow, bold choice. Jermaine.
Very bold.
Choice. Okay, so
That's a
let's
little
talk about Dunkirk real quick. My number 8 is Dunkirk. I think this is going to do a little bit worse than Interstellar, probably pulling around 140, 150, 160 this summer domestically, because it's a darker subject matter. It's a longer movie. It doesn't have the reconnaissance star power. It's about a lot of death and killing. I think it's going to get a lot of audience from the Christopher Nolan fans, but I don't think it's going to be a breakout hit like Inception was. Devindra, any thoughts on Dunkirk?
No, that sounds about right. I think your reasoning makes more sense. Yeah.
Okay, Jermaine Lucier, your number 8 was Alien Covenant. Okay, defend yourself. Why do you think Alien Covenant's going to make this much money?
Sure. It's just there are not that many movies in the genre this summer, right? And so that usually, in past years, we'd always pick. There's always a horror movie that did well, or sometimes there was a romantic comedy that did well. This is one of the few, if not the only, big budget sort of horror movie, more or less. I can't say any more about the quality of it for a couple more days, but I will say I just think the Alien name is good for 150 million. Like, I mean, I know Prometheus didn't do too well, but it wasn't called Alien. I think
Prometheus didn't do bad.
Exactly.
126, but I don't think this is going to do as well as Prometheus.
No, I think it's going to. I mean, I just think the name Alien it carries some weight to it. It's not, of course, it's not like there hasn't been a movie called Alien since like the 90s, but I just think it's going to do pretty well. I think people are going to turn out, and in like 4 weeks down the line, 5 weeks down the line, it's going to be around that number 7 mark on the top 10 every week, just because. If you want to, take your date out to a scary movie, what else do you have? Yes, there are a couple other movies there, like It Comes at Night and things of that nature, but this would be the one, right? I think that horror thing, there's no Conjuring this year. There's nothing like that. I mean, there are some smaller movies, but this would be the big one, and I think that accounts for enough.
Yeah, but the thing about Alien, I think, Jermaine, is there hasn't been reviews. The review embargo hasn't hit yet, but we don't know how this is. If this is another Prometheus,
well, you and I know how it is, but
yeah. But if it is another Prometheus, where if the audience doesn't like it and that buzz gets out there, I don't think it's gonna have legs.
No,
I have to say, by the way, these early screenings I feel are far more of a disadvantage for the rest of us than the crowdsourcing. Just come on, guys.
Shenanigans all around.
Shenanigans.
Guys, just because I've seen The Hitman's Bodyguard doesn't mean that I'm going to win this today.
I actually am kind of agreeing with you a bit, Jermaine, because I put my Alien at number 9. So right there. I think Alien franchise, it's not upper half of the top 10, but I think it is going to make a solid $120 million just on the strength of that franchise's legacy.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, yeah, maybe 8's too high, but I think it's going to be here in this bottom third.
But the thing you said was that there isn't any other horror movies, action
big horror movies like.
I think my number 9 is The Mummy. which is a horror action movie.
Is it?
Yeah, not really.
Is it
It's a
comedy
PG-13.
action?
It's a PG-13. This is an R. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, that's.
And
It's in the
I
conversation.
think The Mummy has the potential to do 140, 150 million. People are curious about this new Universal horror, monster reboot.
I'd say
and
less that.
Tom
more
Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Okay, I think we're on number 9 at this point, right?
Yes.
We just did
So,
two of them.
Peter, you just said your number 9 was The Mummy.
Yeah, and Jeff already said it.
Jermaine, what's your number 9?
Dunkirk.
Jeff Kanata?
I said Alien Covenant.
Alien Covenant. And Devindra, your number 9?
So guys,
Oh no! Oh no!
so guys, I had Baywatch in my pile of movies.
Okay.
I also forgot to put Baywatch in this, so I put in The Hitman's Bodyguard instead. And
The
this
Hitman's
was a terrible
Bodyguard.
mistake. Terrible
Wow,
mistake.
It's
Wow,
it's
I
not
don't know, I
necessarily
have-
a terrible mistake. If people
Good cast. It looks like fun, but
Central
yeah.
Intelligence was the
Yep.
number 8 movie of the summer last year.
Yep.
At $127 million. So
And
this
this is always our blind spot as a
Mhm.
bunch of guys who get all excited for the cool genre stuff that's coming out. We always tend to have the blind spot for the like quirky comedy or the
The
This is
buddy
an
like
action
action
comedy,
movie.
yeah.
That's what this is, and it looks like fun. But yeah, I don't know anything else.
I think Peter, I don't think we're allowed to say anything about.
Just give me a nod, Jermaine.
I'm going to give you a something like that. But I mean, to your point, it's Ryan Reynolds, right? It's a Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds action comedy over the summer
With Samuel
I mean,
L. Jackson, like that's
with Samuel L. Jackson and Salma Hayek. I mean, that's strong. It's Lionsgate, so you know they're not going to spend a ton of money on it. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
All right. My number 9 is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. This is a risky pick, in my opinion. I'm betting that Pirates demand has gone way down since the last movie.
Yep.
I'm betting it's gonna make basically $100 million less than the previous movie, which is a big bet. But it's
your significant other really believed it. So
Yeah, I know. That's what the Twitter followers told you. So you.
Yep, that's what the Periscope people told me. So that's it. Okay. Any other things you want to talk about number 9, or are we good to move on to the last choice?
I mean, you guys. I had Dunkirk in there, and I think you guys made a lot of great points. I think again, sort of like my Alien argument, there isn't a movie like that this summer in the big sweeping thing. So I think Dunkirk. I mean, Devindra putting it like 5 or something seems crazy, but you never know. Like, if the movie is like an Oscar caliber movie that we all want it to be, if it's like Saving Private Ryan, which I believe was a summer movie when that came out,
Yep.
like it could do really well. So I
Agreed.
mean, I have number 9. It could be higher. I don't think
Yeah,
it's gonna
and-
be any lower.
And Dave, what you said earlier in the episode is it's really sad that all of us sort of have to defend Dunkirk, and it's literally the only movie on my top 10
Mhm.
that is not a sequel or a
And
franchise.
agreed. I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Well, let's move on to number 10. Jeff Kanata, you're number 10.
The Mummy.
I have The Mummy at number 10 as well.
Oh.
Devindra Hardawar, you're number 10.
So, hoping against hope, The Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower. Okay, we'll get to that. Peter Soretta, you're number 10?
Mine is Dunkirk.
Okay, and Jermaine Lucier?
War for the Planet of the Apes,
Ooh,
which
okay.
I now don't feel too good about because again, you guys make some good points with it, and
Yeah,
I do think it is going to be one of the better movies of the summer, if not the best blockbuster of the summer.
The Apes movies have always performed well. At least the last 2 have performed pretty well. 176 and 208. I can't imagine War of the Planet of the Apes making less than 176. So I don't.
No, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't feel like it's going to be number 10. But who knows? Maybe like last year made fools of us all. So who knows? I want to hear Devindra Hardawar's reasoning for this. What did you choose as number
For
10
this
again?
one? Well,
Dark Tower.
Dark Tower.
We don't know anything about this movie. There's no trailer. We saw a couple posters, but guys, Idris Elba, Matthew McConaughey, like a beloved franchise. Like this is more me putting it here out of hope that this movie isn't terrible, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope that it ends up like doing better.
What is the release date of the Dark Tower at this point?
August
something?
4th.
August
Yeah.
4th. My guess is the
That's the
movie.
strongest part of that argument is that a number 10 movie is perfect for that late that August slot.
Do we? I mean, I'm pretty sure the Dark Tower is far away from even being finished at this point, right? Like,
Yeah, Jermaine and I saw some footage at CinemaCon, and there's going to be a trailer online tomorrow, so it'll be online by the time this goes up, probably. But it looked like a mess. And I haven't read the books, but the books seem people have tried to explain them to me, and it seems overly complicated.
The books are awesome. I'm in the middle of them now. I really enjoy it.
But do you
It's
trust
like
the studio to be able to cram that into 2 hours?
no, I do not, and I'm nervous about it. But I like Devinder's chutzpah here because I want it to be good. I mean, it's like we were talking about. We obviously want all these movies to be good. If Transformers 5 was great, we'd all be like, yeah. But like, it's just August is a wasteland. I mean, it really is this summer more than other years. I mean, every other year there's usually like one or two movies that sneak up, like Turtles made a lot of money and Guardians. But if The Dark Tower is a 7 of 10, it could be number 10 easy because it could do like $120 million. And depending on how everything else does, it could sneak in there. It didn't make even my dark horses because I have little faith. But as a fan, I like the choice.
I'm just... Yeah, given the love for Westworld and everything, like the need, like, you know, we got some really cool Western sci-fi going on, like a kind of like a high fantasy Western with this cast. I'm hoping that audiences surprise us.
I'm a huge fan of the books, and I haven't really been keeping tabs on this film. Is it supposed to be all of the books in one movie, or is it just the first book?
First one, I thought.
Well,
it's technically even a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read them all. Stop. I'm in the middle of 6 now, so I know. But everybody tells me, this is not a spoiler, they tell me once you finish 7, you'll understand how they made the movie. And from what the trailer is, it's sort of an amalgamation. Some of the main characters from books 2 and 3 and everything else are not in this, but Jake, the kid, is a main character. So, I don't know. That's my non-spoilery.
The idea is that it's going to be a big franchise. Was it going to be like a backdoor TV pilot too?
Yeah, they wanted to do a TV pilot, but that's it's all on the shoulders of the movie doing well.
Right.
So I mean, it would have to be more than number 10 for them to do a TV show or a sequel, I think.
All right, Jeff Canada, you and I have The Mummy at number 10. I mean, I think this movie is going to make. I don't think this is going to be as bad as Tom Cruise's Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, or whatever the hell that movie was called.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be as big of a hit as like Rogue Nation was. I think
it's more like whatchamacallit, Live, Die, Repeat, right? That's the name of that movie.
Yeah.
Now
or Edge of Tomorrow, right? I think it's going to be a decent Tom Cruise actioner. I don't think it's going to be like a runaway success. I'm betting it's going to make around between 110 and 150 is my guess.
I just want to see a movie where Tom Cruise knows how to ride a plane properly. That's all.
I mean,
Edge of Tomorrow was $100 million. That was regarded as a failure. I think this will do probably slightly better than that because Mummy as a concept has some name recognition, but I don't think it's going to do that much better. So, Dark
Can I
Horse.
Say something about my number 10 before we get to Dark Horse? Which is Dunkirk, which I know you guys got to talk about, but Chris Nolan is a brand, like you said, Dave, but his box office varied quite a bit from his lowest studio film, $50 million, to The Dark Knight at 534. But I think this being a World War II movie, it's not a genre film. I don't think it's going to make that 200 million Interstellar money. Do you know what I mean? I think this. I'm barely excited for this movie, aside from seeing that IMAX prologue thing that they showed and Christopher Nolan's name being attached. The trailers have not really excited me much. But I think what?
No, I'm sorry. What movies are there this summer for our parents to see? And I think Dunkirk is the only one that even comes close to that. I mean, there's like Snatched or some other stuff like that could maybe fit in there, but like, I think Dunkirk is the movie, right? So I think 10 is, I don't know. It's like I said, this whole summer is totally crazy. Dunkirk could make $350 million, or it could make $80 million. I have no idea.
Yeah. All our parents are going to go see Baywatch, and you know it.
That's true. That's why it didn't make one of our lists.
They're all going to see the Emoji Movie.
All right, guys, let's talk about dark horses. Let's each reel off all 3 dark horses. If one of these movies gets into, or for each movie in our dark horse choices that get into the top 10, you get an extra point, right? So let's talk about dark horses. Peter Strata, your dark horses, and why don't you talk us through them?
Mine are Alien Covenant, which we've already talked about. Prometheus only made 126. I think this is going to make around that or lower. The Emoji Movie.
Really?
Angry Birds made over $100 million. And I think if you make over $100 million, you're probably around this area.
This movie will be the Angry Birds of 2017.
On the other
hand, number 2 on the list then.
On the other hand, Sony Animation had a clunker with Smurfs that only made $37 million. So it could be that too. But People love those emojis. My third one was a last minute change out. Is Valerian, the City of Thousand Planets,
Ooh.
which
Nice.
I don't think it's. I think it's going to be a huge bomb, but it looks so interesting, and the world.
No
and
guts, no
creatures.
glory, man. No guts, no glory pick.
It was made for $220 million, the largest French production ever,
Jeez.
and I would be surprised if it makes over 100. But it could make Warcraft money. Like
Valerian
50
is going to
million.
be catastrophic, in my opinion. I mean, Valerian is being distributed by STX, right?
Yes.
STX has only distributed one film over $100 million, and I think 3 films over $50 million gross. Okay? The one film, by the way, that made $183.9 million, Bad Moms.
Bad Moms. Yeah.
Bad Moms. And then the other movies, The Gift made $59 million, and what do you call it? The Boy made $64 million. I don't think they know how to open a movie as crazy as this, as big as this, as ambitious as this.
With
I
no
think
stars.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a total failure at the box office. I'm not speaking artistically. Artistically, it might be amazing, but I think it's going to be this year's Jupiter Descending. So live with that, Peter.
No, I
Dark
agree with
horses
you,
are-
but I think it could still make $80 million maybe, and if it made that much, it could make the list. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. Jeff Kanata, walk us through your dark horses.
Wonder Woman, Baywatch.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. I'm sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
I mean, I think there's a possibility. I want Wonder Woman to be great. I want it to be. I want to be wrong about this, but I fear for that movie. I do. Baywatch, I think, has the potential of being like 6 or 5. It really has the potential of making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And then another movie that I think is directly in our blind spot, our collective blind spot, that could end up being the bridesmaids of 2017, Rough Night.
Yep.
That was going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
my third
Interesting.
one, but I switched out for Valerian. Now I feel
Yeah.
But it's weird that Rough Night and Girls Trip look like the same exact movie.
They are, yeah.
Rough Night. This is starring Scarlett Johansson. It's written by the
Kate
people
McKinnon.
behind Broad City, right? It has a lot of really talented people behind it.
I almost put Girls Trip instead of Rough Night because Girls Trip has, it's about black women, and there's really nothing for that community to rally behind in this summer, sadly. So maybe that movie will surprise everybody also.
And there's the Amy
Valid.
Schumer one too, right?
Yeah, the Amy
Snatched.
Schumer
Snatched.
right, with Goldie Hawn. I don't know with regards to Rough Night. I don't know that the world was hungry for a female version of Very Bad Things, but the stars behind it are pretty considerable. So we'll see.
Yeah. I would like to see that cast do something silly.
I think Rough Night is a great dark horse choice, Jeff. So who else needs to run through their dark horses?
Yeah,
I'll go.
I'll do.
Jermaine, let's go with you first.
Okay, sorry, Avenger. Mine are a couple movies we've already mentioned. The Mummy, again, and Baywatch are the two that we've already discussed. And I think those are both movies that, like Jeff put it great the last segment here, they could be number 5 or 6, or they could not make the list at all. I have high hopes for The Mummy just because I want this Universal Monsters thing to work out. And Tom Cruise movies, with especially a franchise one like this, I don't really consider Jack Reacher as a franchise, but it doesn't have that same name recognition. It could be good. And Baywatch could be. It needs to be like 21 Jump Street to make a lot of money, but it's going to do really well, at least opening weekend. With The Rock and Zac Efron. And my third movie that we haven't mentioned at all is the. I think Captain Underpants is something that growing up, I was a little older than that, but I worked at the place they published it, Scholastic Books, and people went crazy for that stuff. And I think the movie, it's the only Kevin Hart movie this summer. Ed Helms is the other voice. They'll be out promoting it. And if it's good, I think it's got a good name recognition. And there are a lot of other animated movies this summer, Despicable with Me being the biggest, but there's a bunch of little ones. I think this one could really get in there and do decent money.
That's probably my biggest regret, Jermaine, is not putting Captain Underpants on my top 10 as we look over these lists. Captain Underpants has sold 70 million copies over the course of 12 books. So it is a massive hit. And we've seen with The Boss Baby recently that animated films that have a lot of wide appeal from book adaptations are really can have legs at the box office. So Captain Underpants is also on my
tiny
dark
baby
horse
legs.
list. Also on my dark horses, Alien Covenant and Baywatch. Those feel like they have a possibility to make top 10. Devindra Hardwar, your 3 dark horses.
I like to go swing for the fences.
Yeah,
for
do it.
things we may not see. The Mummy probably will. Yeah, I think it makes a good one. King Arthur.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and my hope against hope that Atomic Blonde does well enough to be somewhere there.
Well, that's
I
not
thought
gonna
about-
happen. Yeah.
I thought about Atomic Blonde myself, but
But I think John, at best, Atomic Blonde does John Wick Chapter 2
Yeah,
numbers,
which is like 90 million.
93 million. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's unlikely, but yeah, it's not a bad thing to hope for.
so there's
I
a
think it'll
bunch
be
of
a sleeper
movies.
hit.
There's a
But-
bunch of movies that nobody has mentioned at all that I think nobody's mentioned Baby Driver at
That
all.
movie's,
Well-
I think it's going to be amazing. But what's the most Edgar Wright movies ever?
Edgar Wright has only made a $31 million movie.
I think Baby Driver could be a huge hit. I think it could make $80 to $100 million, which would be a massive success.
Huge.
But that's
Do you
not.
think it's going to make 3 times what Scott Pilgrim did?
I could see
think
that.
I think it has the potential to do that. I'm just saying, but I think
Yeah.
even in the best case scenario where Baby Driver makes a ton of money and makes all of its investors its money back, I still don't think it cracks top 10. I don't think it's a big enough movie.
I would
but
love that to happen more than almost anything else
Yeah.
because
Me too.
Obviously a huge Edgar Wright fan. The cast is good. Everybody who I know who's seen it's loved it, but that wasn't what I was going to say. What I was going to say is anybody I talk to about it, who I'm like, check out this trailer. This is awesome. They're like, that looks awesome. Wow, what a bad title. Like they immediately say
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
what does that
Yeah.
even mean?
Yeah.
And I think that again is going to hurt it. But if the reviews are as good, if they continue to be as good, they moved it up like 3 months, right? It was supposed to come out in August or September, and they moved it to June, which is a huge, gold star on it. I would love for it to make that, but yeah, I think we're all sort of right saying it'll like 70 million would be a huge success.
Jeff Kanata, you were going to list some other movies you're shocked didn't make any of our lists.
I guess we there were a bunch that were in my head that were contenders, but I guess people have mentioned. I'm looking over the release schedule again, and stuff is we got a broad swath here of stuff that's come up.
Let me ask you guys this:
I got some.
as we wrap up. Yeah, like what are movies that didn't make either the top 10 or the dark horses that you kind of regret not putting on the list to some degree? I'll just name one. Hitman's Bodyguard. I think could be this year's Central Intelligence. Could do really well. But and also Rough Night. You guys mentioned I'm bummed that didn't make any of my top 10 or the dark horses. Peter
Yeah.
Sharetta, what's on your regret?
Rough Night I mentioned. Baywatch is something that I wanted to include so badly because Central Intelligence did like 127 million. Like don't underestimate The Rock.
And
San
it's-
Andreas, a huge
plus-
hit last year.
It's The Rock plus boobs,
Yeah,
which I
And-
hate to
and
be.
Zac
I hate,
it just
Efron,
looks
right?
so unfunny.
Yeah,
yeah.
the
But-
trailer's been bad.
Movies that I want to talk about though, Detroit. Do you think this politically charged time?
Oh my god, that
could propel that into the top 10?
no.
No?
I mean, what is the most money a Catherine Bigelow movie has made? Right?
Well-
not that much. I think it's
Hurt
going to be
Locker, probably.
I think it's going to be an
Probably
amazing
make
film.
it, right?
I think it's going to be an amazing film. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing it, but I don't think. Zero Dark 30, $95 million.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right, and that was about the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden, who is someone virtually everyone in the world knows who that is. So something about Detroit in the 60s or 70s, I think it is. I just don't see it cracking top 10.
Okay, what about Annabelle? Because we were talking about no horror movies.
Yeah,
Annabelle
I was just
Creation-
gonna say. Looking back at this, my horror thing was kind of a big whiff. And there's Annabelle. There's an Amityville movie. There's Polaroid. There's a lot of small movies that are horror. I mean, I think Alien's obviously the big one. And I
But
think
the first Annabelle movie did 84 million.
It was
That's not-
also critically reviled. I just
Yes.
don't think the next one's going to do a lot better if a lot of people hated the first one.
no. But the
So-
Ouija was a movie that the first movie people hated and it did really well, and the second movie people loved and it didn't do well. So who
Right.
knows?
Well, yeah, it's often based on how well they liked the first one or the one that came before. And in the case of Ouija, second one was better, but the first one soured them on
How
it.
do you explain Transformers?
I can't, Peter. I can't explain Transformers. I
What do you
tried.
guys think about the chance? How much money is King Arthur gonna do?
Yeah,
Devindra, you're the only one that had it in your top 10.
I put it on my list. I don't know why. mostly because I'm really jazzed for like this crazy fantasy historical thing that Guy Ritchie is going for.
Hasn't it been on the shelf for like 2 years? Not 2 years, but like a while. Hasn't like
I
it
think
been
a while. Yeah.
I think it could do Sherlock Holmes numbers. I think it could do
Really?
like up to
No
100,
way.
up to 185 million. I think.
There's no way. If it does 85 million, I'd be upset. One movie that we haven't discussed that I flirted with for 2 seconds is The House. Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. That we haven't
that's
seen.
right.
much
Yeah,
from.
another big
they're
comedy.
Huge names.
Yep.
The broad comedies this summer are few and far between. And I say that, and people are yelling at their YouTubes like my horror thing. But like, yeah, I mean, that's a movie that I don't think is going to do that well, but you never know.
And one thing I wanted to mention too, that's nowhere here and that we haven't talked about is All Eyes on Me, the Tupac movie, mostly because like just leveraging the wave of like people who loved Straight Outta Compton and how big a hit that movie was. So.
Yeah.
Any other movies that didn't make any of our lists, Peter Serretta, that you wanted to mention that might be worth considering?
And the Straight Outta Compton was the last one, and I mean not Straight Outta Compton. Sorry, All Eyes on Me. I'm not sure if that could do Straight Outta Compton numbers. I know Dave wanted desperately to put 47 Meters Down on his list, but
which is a shark movie, right?
Yeah, with Mandy Moore, which honestly I don't think it's going to come anywhere near the top 10. But Mandy Moore is on that show. Oh my God, what's the name of that show that's like Parenthood on TV?
This Is Us.
This Is Us, which is a sensation right now.
What's interesting about 47 Meters Down is that it's a movie that they were going to release direct to video, and people even got screeners of it and reviewed it, and then they decided to pull it because the reviews were so good, or something to that nature. I know that like ComingSoon.net put up like a review of that movie, and they're like, "This movie's awesome, you got to see it." And now it's getting a full theatrical release. So that's an interesting story that will be told this summer. One quick point I just realized as I was looking at this again, Hitman's Bodyguard, even if it's the greatest movie of all time, it has 2 weeks on this list to make at least $100 million. And I'm sorry, but that's not going to
I believe in Samuel L. Jackson.
I want to say, we talk about dollars. This is all about dollars. But I think from a quality level, looking forward to the summer, I am very heartened by what I'm seeing. If you look at last summer's abysmal, the top 10 movies are just horrid. And even ones that we all assumed were going to be good, like Jason Bourne, were not. And I think that this year, I could be wrong again, but I'm looking at Dunkirk, War for Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man, Guardians 2, Mummy, in Wonder Woman. All of those have the potential of being actually really good movies.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to more of these movies than we were last year, right?
Why were you laughing, David?
Oh, because you said, what was that movie you said? What were the movies you just read off, Jeff?
The last one was funny. He said something.
The Mummy?
Yeah, The Mummy. Like, you're saying The Mummy as though is going to be like this.
I think, dude, Tom Cruise doesn't know how to make bad movies. I guess Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher was pretty terrible.
Yeah, but
Okay, second one.
Guys, what we're all ignoring, I think what Jeff's trying to say is we're all ignoring what's probably going to be one of the biggest hits of the summer, The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, coming out August 11th.
Just on that title alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's there's a lot of pent up demand from the Nut Job 1.
Something tells me that Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, is going to be Dave's victory movie, making us all watch.
Yeah.
It'll still be in theaters potentially. Hey, like, you have to
we can all go to the theater together, Jeff Canana. I'll fly down there. I'll fly down. We'll do it together.
Also, this one movie I wish would make the top 10. It won't, but I hope people go see is The Big Sick with Kumail.
So excited for that movie.
It's just such a great movie that could, be seen by, almost all ages, from teenagers to, old people.
Olds.
To the olds. Yeah.
And I think if it had some maybe bigger actors in a bigger release, maybe
I
it
feel
would.
like that's probably going to move a movie that's like, when we don't do this, but if we said like, what's your favorite movie this summer? That's probably one we'll say. I think Valerian, though I agree with you, David, that it's going to be a huge financial failure, is a movie that I think we're all going to love. I just have a feeling that Luc Besson doesn't spend $220 million and cast these people unless he's really confident, or I'd like to think so.
Or maybe
You know?
he's looking at international, sales.
Oh yeah,
more
I
than
mean, I
just
think that
US.
movie will eventually make money, but I'm just
Yeah.
talking about here. I don't think Dane DeHaan or Kara are big enough, but I feel like the quality. I think when we're back here, we'll be like, well, Valerian bombed, but that was an awesome movie, right, guys? I
Right.
think that's a conversation that we'll be having in 3 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
that Valerian and Baby Driver and
Mhm.
and The Big Sick are going to be like the movies that we're all championing, and we're on none of our lists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But guys, I don't think we're talking enough about War Machine.
War Machine.
Yeah.
This
Not
is,
the MCU film.
yeah,
Not an
this
MCU
is-
film.
This is
That's
the,
a big movie starring Brad Pitt and Tilda Swinton and Ben Kingsley. Guys,
Really?
where-
That
why
is
is it-
direct to Netflix,
yeah,
right?
direct to Netflix, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, does it even exist? Does this movie
It's a
even exist?
David Michaud movie, filmmaker who I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Netflix plays it. Like, guys, the summer movie wager in 5 years is going to comprise completely of Netflix movies, I think.
Well, I tell you what, Netflix will make more during the summer than any 3 of these movies makes.
I don't
True.
like. They're still fishing for like a lot of debt funding and everything too to actually make this original content and buy original content. So it's a weird company. I'm still not a fan of how Netflix treats its movies.
Yeah, well, I think
Another
we'll talk about
conversation.
that a little bit more on the
Yeah.
Slash Filmcast. But other than that, fellas, you can find all of our rankings at slashfilm.com on our Slash Filmcast page. And also thesummermoviewager.com. Dennis, the Slash Filmcast listener and Summer Movie Wager fan, has been rapidly plugging in our choices while we've been recording this. So that they are now up there at thesummermoviewager.com.
Maybe you should have put the in there.
Yeah, make sure you put the in there because not the Summer Movie Wager is owned by someone else.
If you want to
but-
laugh at my picks or Jeff's or Devindra's, go up there and check it out.
and if you want to marvel
Hey,
at Dave Chen's
Yeah.
picks,
May the best list win, fellas, except for Dave. May
I
he
think we can all agree on one thing this summer. We do not want Dave to three-peat. I mean, I think that is the one thing.
he will be absolutely insufferable should he do that.
I mean, you're assuming I'm not already.
Ideas of what you'll make us watch at this point.
Guys, I remember the words of one of my law professors from college, which is that he said his grading policy was justice tempered by mercy. And that is how I shall dispense movie watching choices this year, should I win, which we all know I will.
He
So-
is the hubris is
Please, Dave, do not win.
All
Please.
right.
It's and people are listening, cheering at the things we were saying, "Please, Dave, do not win."
I'm
He'll be on
not I'm
Periscope
not
every week, telling us all about it.
I'm not comfortable with how many of the movies that Dave and I had in the exact same location on our lists.
Mm.
Oh no!
Not comfortable with that personally.
I'm feeling pretty good about my list. I think my biggest doubts are Despicable Me, because I think Jeff actually does bring up a good point. Maybe it will be a disaster. Maybe we've reached peak Minion.
I don't think it's a disaster. I just think it's on the decline.
Yeah. And Guardians Volume 2 probably will do better than Guardians 1, maybe. So that really makes
Definitely.
it gives me a little unsettling.
You have doubt that Guardians 2 is going to do better than 1?
Well, didn't Guardians 1 wasn't it the biggest grossing movie of the year that year?
Second biggest behind
Pretty
American Sniper beat it.
Yeah, but
by
this
like
one
50.
has Baby Groot.
Yeah.
And
does have
also,
baby
nobody had
Groot.
expectations for that first movie too. Like that took everyone by surprise. So people amped up for a sequel to that and everything. Yeah.
I think this
Yeah.
movie could
Huge.
do Captain America: Civil War numbers, which I think is like 400
Definitely.
million, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Which
That's
would
right.
beat it.
And
Which
there's
would make
no
it beat
way
Despicable Me.
Me 3 makes 400 million.
I'm really regretting
Really?
putting Transformers so high, fellas.
Yeah.
Jeff, what about Spider-Man? How you thinking about 500 million?
I am standing behind that. I think Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man could be my Finding Dory moment.
I have a prediction
Off
that
the-
guys, I have a prediction. Jeff is going to have the lowest score this year.
Fair enough. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. You
The
may have the last
rivalry
laugh, Jeff.
is, it brings the listeners back. I love it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Summer Movie Wager. If you want to play along, enter your choices, and especially if you want to be included in the leaderboard, go to thesummermoviewager.com as soon as possible and click on the Play Along tab. And to read more about this, go to slashfilm.com, click on the /filmcast tab. You'll find this post. Or just Google the Summer Movie Wager /film. In the meantime, Jermaine Lucier, what can we find more of your work on the internet this week?
Find my stuff at gizmodo.com and io9.com, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jermaine Lucier.
How about you, Peter Strata?
You can find me on Twitter at /film and /film.com.
Jeff Kanata?
Just follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jeff Kanata with 2 N's and 1 T. And if you like hearing me talk about video games, I have a daily video game show at anchor.fm/NLB.
How about you, Devindra?
At Devindra on Twitter and Engadget.com.
Find all my stuff at davechen.net. Thanks for listening to the Summer Movie Wager this year, 2017. We'll be back in a few months with the results.